All right, let's start the meeting. This is the meeting of the Economic Development Project Team. And I would like first to have a motion to approve last meeting's minutes.
So moved.
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And that brings us to our discussions. First up is the right place to discuss updated strategic plan.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hello. My name's
Oh, press the button on there. Is that on?
at the base, Andrew.
There we are.
Thank you. Thank you. Perfect. Okay, now everybody can hear me, right? All right. Hi, I'm Andrea Ramkama. I lead our business growth initiatives at The Right Place. We are here today to give an overview of our strategic plan, which we just launched. I'm also joined by my colleagues, Dr. Tarita Johnson, who leads our people and talent efforts at The Right Place, and also Tim Mraz, who leads our community development efforts. So The Right Place, we're keeping with our core strategy this year that's focused around people, place, and prosperity. So we're going to divide this presentation up to dive a little bit into each of those. So first, we launched the strategy last month at this time. This was the result of over a year in the making. We built this strategy with the community. We had input from nearly 600 stakeholders into this process, and that input looked like focus groups, specific industry focus groups, also one-on-one conversations, and as well, we did some surveys. So we took all of that input from the community and put it into the strategy as we developed it. And like I mentioned, we're still staying true to our core economic development strategy that we believe is the strongest when you have these three pillars standing with it. Of course, people is the most important. People make up the economy. We want to make sure that people have the opportunity to have great jobs, live to their fullest potential, and live in great communities. And so that is our goal and our strategy. I'm going to dive first into our prosperity pillar. This is the pillar that I lead, and you can think of this pillar as essentially our business growth team. We're the team that's out meeting with usually over 600 companies throughout the region each year. We have that team that focuses on manufacturing, technology, and health science companies. And then we also have a team that's specifically focused on supporting small to mid-sized manufacturers in the region with customized training and consulting. And then we have our tech strategy, which I won't dive too deep into today unless there are questions, but that I also lead the tech strategy and tech week as part of that. So happy to take any questions there too. So first of all, with our prosperity strategy, we are keeping that core of business retention and expansion. So if you hear the news, it would be easy to think that The Right Place that we spend most of our time on attraction projects. And we do spend a lot of time on attraction projects, but in any given year, that's about 20% of our work. The bulk of our work is supporting our businesses here in the region. And we believe that any strong economy is going to start with our local businesses first. And if you extrapolate that, why would any business want to enter into a community where the current business climate is not good and the current businesses in the region are not finding success? So we believe you have to build on this foundation. But that doesn't always get all of the headlines, right? So, but know that that is our primary focus. Now we do some targeted business attraction work, particularly focusing on our core industries here that we have strong capabilities in. Those around advanced manufacturing. We're a national leader in advanced manufacturing here in the region. It is truly something special about our community. We also focus on strengthening the tech industry, which supports all of our industries in the region. Tech goes across, I struggle to think of any discipline that it doesn't impact these days. And then our health science foundation that we've built here with Medical Mile and healthcare. And there's a lot of potential, I think, for our community to lean into this space more. We have very strong capabilities in this area, and the city in particular has some global, just amazing cutting edge companies doing this work in the region. And then also, I mentioned our manufacturing team that's supporting those small to mid-sized manufacturers in the region. We have nearly 3,000 manufacturers in the region, so we're providing that custom consulting. One of the new strategies this year is we are supporting, while we have a diversified manufacturing base here in the region, we do still have quite a bit of our manufacturers who are primarily in the automotive supply chain. And while that has been strong, that industry does have its cycles and ups and downs, and it's also going through a transformation right now. And recognizing that we want to help our manufacturers diversify where they can into different industries. So we're currently, we have a plan for the next 3 years to help them diversify into several different industries. The first one we're exploring right now is supporting them with aerospace and defense. We actually just launched an event last week or last month on that. We had a full house of manufacturers who are looking to expand into this region and wanting to start that journey. Of course, this is not an overnight journey. It takes significant investment and usually a minimum of 2 years to break into these industries, but we want to start now. A couple ways that we're looking to have communities get involved or other partners get involved is one, that diversification initiative. Any manufacturers who are looking to expand into new markets, definitely we want to be connecting with them here and helping support them in that journey. We are convening all of the resources to hopefully make that a smooth transition and an opportunity that they can pursue long term. Another key initiative that we offer is our industry councils. So we have five, Tim has just launched a new industry council, but we focus our industry councils on, we have a technology industry council, we have a supply chain industry council, a manufacturing industry council, and a medical device industry council. And the goal of those is to share best practices with one another to help strengthen the region overall. And I will say, this is something, I've worked in other markets before, and this is something truly special about the Grand Rapids market, that we have companies that are willing to come together, share their mistakes, share what's worked for them, all with the common goal of supporting one another. This does not happen in other communities. If I tried to launch a council in another community, I would have businesses look at me and say, what do you mean you want me to get in a room with my competitor and tell them what's been going wrong and what my challenges are? They would laugh me out of the room. But that's not the case here in Grand Rapids. We really have a collaborative community. I think that's a key to our success. We are also working on elevating the region as a tech hub. I won't talk too much about Tech Week. That's a whole other presentation in of itself. But we're continuing to double down on that, and we're receiving a lot of interest from the business attraction side now of companies who want to come in. They've heard about Grand Rapids as being a rising tech hub. They've heard about Tech Week. They want to see what it's about. So we're working to host them this year very strategically. I also want to talk a little bit about data centers. This is one thing that if you're listening, watching, reading the news, you would think this is our full-time job, but it is not. It is a small component of our work, but we do believe that it is a core, not core, but it is a focus that we should have right now. The data industry is experiencing a build out now to meet demand for cloud computing and AI, and so we have a lot of hyperscalers that are starting to build out some campuses. There was another wave about 10 years ago of these. So we have a moment, and we believe that it's important for communities to consider these opportunities right now. I won't go too deep in it because for the city of Grand Rapids, right now we don't have the location factors that they want. They usually want over 200 acres of space for these particular facilities, but happy to answer any questions on it. And we also have just launched a website. I have it up on the screen, but wndatacenters.org. We believe that we can work together with these companies and really, if we do this right, it can yield significant benefits for our communities and our economies. We also, on this site, we go through, I know there are probably about 5 major concerns around data centers. We are providing sourced information for people to review and read on these concerns, particularly around water, power consumption, economic impact, the types of jobs that these data centers will be creating. Again, it's really about doing this responsibly and providing that factual information, because we know there is a lot of outdated information out there currently. Okay, and with that, I would like to introduce Tim Mraz, who leads our place efforts. He's going to talk a bit about our strategy there.
Sweet. Thank you. Well, good morning, everybody. Moving into place and placemaking, one of the things I always like to make sure that everybody understands is that while my colleague Andrea, her primary audience are businesses in the region, my primary audience is you guys, our various municipalities, and our team works all year long to make sure we meet with the 38, 39 different incorporated forms of government around Kent County, just to make sure that they're aware of the programs and resources that exist through the state and through the state and federal channels. So as part of that, the other side of our audience is the development community. So we work with a lot of industrial and mixed use and multifamily developers. So in terms of the next 3 years, the first thing on there speaks to that is continuing to support the creation and activation of our build ready sites across West Michigan. One of the things I like to remind people of, especially on the industrial side, is right now West Michigan as a region, in terms of our industrial vacancy rate, is sitting about 3% right now. So of all the available space, we have about 3% vacancy. National average sits around 7%. So we are extremely tight here in West Michigan. So we're going to do everything we can so that Andrea has projects. We have places that companies can locate and that companies can stay here as they grow. The second one talks about, I already mentioned this a little bit, is our ability to work with our municipal partners throughout Kent County and throughout the region. One of the examples I give, Grand Rapids is an excellent, well-staffed organization, but we work with a lot of smaller communities that have part-time economic development or part-time community development resources. We have folks that are covering, wearing multiple hats at one time, and they're making sure that, did the public meeting notice go out for Thursday night's planning commission, much less understanding, did DNR change their trust fund grants, or has Eagle, opened up a new grant program? So we come alongside a lot of our communities around West Michigan and just provide that third-hand, fourth-hand support. Finally here, the work around Gerald R. Ford International Airport, I will admit this is going to be an initiative more led by Randy, our CEO, than me, but there is a push here locally amongst business leaders to work with the airport and to attract more nonstop flights in and out of Grand Rapids to more business-oriented destinations. We have a lot of nonstop flights coming out of Grand Rapids. It's great if you want to get to warm weather right now this time of year. But if you're trying to get to Phoenix for a business meeting, or you're trying to get to Seattle for a business meeting, or San Francisco, it's really hard to get there without a stop or two along the way, which makes it really hard for business travel. So, in terms of again where to get involved, obviously continuing our work in real estate development. As Andrea mentioned, we are launching next week our Real Estate Development Council, which will be a council of private companies that are involved throughout the real estate development ecosystem, from construction to legal to architecture and engineering and everything in between. We're also looking at some catalytic infill projects. We just launched an initiative to work with developers and brokers to look at infill projects within the 6 cities as potential industrial development sites. We all know we have those 3, 4, 5 acre sites that are already zoned industrial, but may not be the highest and best use that they could possibly be. And so we've launched a $100,000 initiative to help local developers and brokers bring those sites more marketable and more attractive to potential industrial clients. So trying to bring jobs into the city. Positioning West Michigan as an outdoor destination, this is something new for us. In our focus groups, along with meeting with our board members, there's a lot of push to have us be a convener of more regional outdoor recreation initiative, so we're going to be working on that. That work really, to be honest, hasn't started yet. We got 3 years to work on this, so that'll be coming in the coming years. Attached to that is our work, the work that I'm doing in public art. So I'm a member of ACCGR. I do a lot of work with DGRI to help, create funding and find funding sources so that we can have more public art to increase the vibrancy here in the city. So that's a quick update on place and community development. I want to turn it over now to my colleague, Tarita Johnson.
Thanks, Tim. Hi, everybody. Let's talk a little bit about talent. When we think of talent, I like to say no stone unturned. So we're looking at K through 12. We're looking at our community-based organizations, our workforce development organizations, our four-year institutions, community colleges, and really the whole landscape of talent. So some of these initiatives, we want to expand employer engagement throughout K through 12, higher ed, and our workforce development orgs. We want to make sure that we are proactive in keeping the talent here. So as Andrea's team is working on attracting businesses, helping existing business to expand, and as Tim is working on the placemaking efforts, we want to make sure that we have the talent in place, that we're not only attracting the talent, but we're retaining them. We want to position Greater Grand Rapids as the premier destination for talent. And we want to be that central resource, which we're really leveraging our talent report. We launched our first one in 2024. We're launching another one this April. We will have an investor exchange where we actually roll out that report. So for instance, we know in the state, our unemployment rate is 4%. In Grand Rapids, it is 5%. So we want to get ahead of that. So we're going to look at national trends, regional and local trends, so we can get better on the talent front. One of the things that we want to do, we want to secure 100 employer and education partnerships. Today, we know that there are many employers that are working with our ISDs, working with our community and four-year institutions, even our workforce development partners, but we want to really streamline that approach and really have 100 that are lockstep with these institutions so that they're actually hiring that talent for the future. We want to welcome and retain new talent in Greater Grand Rapids, and so we've partnered. Hello West Michigan rolls up to me, so they've done a lot of attraction efforts. We're going to keep those attraction efforts, but we also launched an ambassador program this year. So there's a lot of folks that come here that don't necessarily feel plugged into the community. They don't exactly know what's going on. We had our first event on March 5th, and we had people there from other countries that came here. We even had our new soccer coach there. We had about 50 people say, how do I get plugged in? So we're rolling out a full-scale ambassador program so people feel not only connected by the jobs that bring them here, but also by the community. And we want to invest in our next generation of leaders. We surveyed many of our employers, and we know that 600 interns will be here this summer. So we're launching, again, our Intern Connect program, and it's not just one event. We're also doing social programs to make sure interns not only connect within their companies, but with other interns. We want them to stay here. To give you an example, I talked to Gentex. Last year, they had 125 interns here. Of those 125, 28 came from different states, and they were not plugged in or connected what to do here. So we're really have an entire program this summer, starting June 10th, to really make sure that interns from no matter where they are, even if they're local here, that they're connected. We believe that the best way to be proactive about talent is to give these interns not just a great experience in our city, but also to secure them for future positions here before they even leave their internships. So we are working with companies to do that as well. Any questions for any of us?
I usually saw Commissioner Isasi first.
I told you, age before beauty.
That's right.
the youngin'. Thank you for the presentation, and I feel like I've gotten a little of this from some other work, my day job work, but I always like, I think you guys come and you put this together, so let me have either 3 comments or 3 questions for each of you and the specific areas, and reminding us all of the different work that happens at the right place. and Andrea probably just a little bit more familiar because of, we're on the Smart Zone Authority. And so really, I didn't have much, and I'm guessing, Commissioner, I know we were talking a little bit about maybe the question that you would have. But just wanted to say, the work with Tech Week has just, continued to explode. That I see Jenny out in the audience, that we're trying to emulate that for Small Business Week, the week of May 4th through 9th. So put that on your calendars, people. So thank you for that. I think it gives us something to shoot for. How can we create that energy? So I think sometimes it's, it's the work, but it's also showing what's possible in those coalitions. So mine's more of a comment, I guess, for you, Andrea. And then on the place-based stuff, Tim, I think it was, good reminders. Definitely agree on some of the pieces with the airport and just, some of those thoughts of we need to care about the city, but we have to care about also what's around us. We cannot be, isolating ourselves. But one of the things that I wondered is, when we think about build-ready sites and we think about, sometimes city manager, that step when we've had, and I think there was maybe a bill in the state legislature or something floating around, just working with our utilities, like how do we have better relationships with our utilities when there's, different construction projects or just, different things that, might want to happen. So I was kind of thinking about that in relation to the airport. So would love to hear any thoughts about that. Or maybe that's too far, or that's too up the stream for you, and you could tell us that. But I wondered about that because we get, I think, a lot of questions from different businesses about challenges maybe with timelines. And, I think we have good relationships with utilities, but the more support we can get there. And then Ms. Tarita, my question was on how are we connecting, your Miss Talent. If people want to know where to go, I guess they have to call Tarita is kind of what people have come to realize in Grand Rapids. Because you're somewhere every single night or multiple places every single night. But city manager wondering how we're connecting, this larger talent conversation with some of the work we do around like Grow 1000 and those efforts, especially, getting in front of employers. We've seen a lot of employers who've, over these last couple of months having to shrink because of things like tariff or other things that are happening in our national economy. And so, kind of what does that appetite look like right now? Are people thinking ahead of these next couple of years and not getting too stuck in what's happening right now? So those are my one comment and two questions. Thank you.
Okay. So utilities, great question. Short-term answer, long-term answer.
Both.
So short-term answer is, I've always told developers, if you run into issues on a particular development, the easy button is the right place. Consumers Energy, DTE both sit on our board. I have sort of a bat phone that I can call to get projects unstuck more than just the 1-800 number and file a ticket. So a lot of times on the short term, that's what is required. I will say, before I go any further, that the City of Grand Rapids Economic Development Team does have a great relationship with consumers, probably maybe better than I do. But long term, I mentioned the Real Estate Development Council. That's one of the things that we're going to be touching on is our infrastructure issues. Right now, developers are taking on projects, and because once they get a green light from a community, they move so fast, there isn't a whole lot of notice that's given to utilities, and they get to the point of utility hookup, and they turn around, they're like, okay, where's consumers? Mm-hmm. Well, a statewide utility can't necessarily operate that fast. So how do we get it better lined up in the process? How do we get consumers better engaged earlier in the development process so that they're ready once the need comes for hookup? We've seen issues, everything from not being able to service the street itself, all the way down to the building's built and we just can't get gas meters because the gas meters and electric meters just aren't in stock right now. So it runs the gamut, but that's part of the long-term solution is to work with that Real Estate Development Council.
Thank you. That's helpful because I think something goes wrong. People are usually like it's the city, but again You brought up the complexity of it, right? It's like the city working along with other partners and sometimes things that might be a delay. It could be something else happening behind the scenes and maybe those two things aren't connected. So thanks for that.
I loved your question. Mm-hmm. Actually, The Right Place saw over 600 companies last year, and we're on track to do that. Right now, we have a retention blitz going on, so this month, we'll see 125 companies. My team, as we speak, Hello West Michigan and The Right Place are at the Urban League right now, really making those connections. We do plan to connect with Grow 1000, so we have a lot of meetings that we are having on a regular basis. I personally probably see about 50 different companies, and to answer your question, there there has been a pullback on talent, particularly entry-level talent and then your higher-level C-suite talent. That is where the biggest challenge is. Through Hello West Michigan, we still are doing a weekly resume book that we send out to many of the local employers. So as talent comes in, we want to make sure that we've got people in the pipeline ready for them. And we unfortunately have a plethora of people there too, but we are definitely connecting. I stay connected to these guys as the people, place, and prosperity. We work together to make sure employers know that too. So
Thank you. Thank you three very much.
Commissioner Culver.
Yeah, thank you all so much for your presentation. Andrea, I have several questions and some feedback on your mention of data centers. Overall, it's a rather biased site, it feels to me. So you all mentioned that DT and consumers are on your board. What role did they play in creating, did they play a role in creating some of this data center website by chance?
We have used, on the consumer side, we have used their information that it should be sourced on the website as it relates to power. But this has been our team pulling together a variety of different sources to create this site.
Wonderful. And then
Yeah.
what scientist or energy specialist or professionals, do you all have energy or water or environmental specialists on your team?
No.
Okay, so internally, did you all consult with any of those professionals to make this website?
We've been consulting with our partners at Consumers on the power piece. We have also been reaching out to communities who have located these types of projects in them before. As I mentioned in the presentation, there was a wave of these that happened about 10 years ago. So we have a bit of an opportunity to go to those communities and see, okay, what happened? Were they able to do what they said they were going to do? Were the utilities a concern? What were their noise complaints? What happened? And we've been reaching out, particularly on Microsoft, because that is who we have. We have 2 sites that they're looking at right now. And so far, we've received very positive response. Previously, with these data centers, they were primarily concerned there wasn't enough power to locate. So they used water resources instead to do the cooling. It's flipping now. And so that's what we're hearing from Microsoft. You know, they can take a variety of different strategies to cool their servers, essentially. And now they're looking at, consuming significantly less water and relying more on power. But they have done things both ways for the data centers.
Yeah. Could you see where the public may feel like that is biased with the resource that you're bringing if you only have really consulted a utility?
Well, we haven't just consulted the utility. We do have several other studies that we were not part of that are sourced on the website.
Okay, so some other concerns that I have here, like for example, I'm just not seeing for the public if this is supposed to be, and I appreciate the effort here, but it just seems very biased and underbaked, for lack of a better word. So, for example, when you talk about long-term job impact, it seems quite overstated. When you talk about these really high-paying long-term jobs, it simply links back to Microsoft's AI plan. So how is that necessarily proof and evidence that this region could receive high-paying jobs from that when you just link back to a guess from Microsoft?
Yeah, so they have not committed they have not created a site plan yet and committed the actual job figures officially. But right now, with our conversations with them, they plan to have anywhere from 200 to 300 long-term jobs at the site, and that's based on what they have done at similar locations around the country. It depends on how many buildings they end up putting on the site. That's a key determinant in how many jobs will be permanently on the site. But they estimate right now between 200 and 300. And they're also, I would say, very, very committed to being a good corporate citizen, and they take seriously training and giving access to the local community to upskill for these jobs. So I was talking with them actually last week at one of their open houses, and I was asking them some of these questions, like what is your strategy around hiring local? Because oftentimes when you locate a new business, a new industry per se to a community, they'll need to bring in some leadership from outside. But then we needed to transition to employing our local region and upskilling people. And they actually have quite a few opportunities that are well-paying jobs that just require high school education, and they have pathways articulated to move up. And they will also pay for training.
Yeah,
so
I think that is wonderful, Andrea.
think-
So, commission is a part-time role. My other professional role is with the Michigan Environmental Council. So I'm
yeah.
very familiar with this, and I think this is a great conversation for the
Yeah.
public. So I'm happy that there's a lot of promises going on. I hope they follow through with that. But what I'm challenging you all to see is how this could look really biased for the community. Once again, just linking to it. So like you said, if they have this is a plan for our region, that's wonderful. But I think for you all, for your team, to make this a more concrete, better presentation for our community, maybe linking to those examples where we're seeing hundreds of high-paying jobs would be good. Because right now, just linking to a website with a plan is not showing me that that's the truth.
Yeah.
This is a lot of plans, and not actual benefit for community.
Yeah, thank you for that feedback. I'm going to take a note on that because would it be helpful to you if once they firmly commit their plan, we're planning to put that on the site as well so that the community can see the commitments and the details.
Yeah, and I think plans and commitments are wonderful, but I think if you all have actual examples of where they've done this around the nation, I think that would be more powerful than just a plan to do it.
Yeah.
In addition, you all totally omit long-term sustainability concerns such as aging infrastructure, upgrades, or abandoned facilities if these things don't pencil out and don't go well. But overall, the limited sources and evidence that are not included really make this feel underbaked and biased for me. In addition, there's no mention of equity or fairness issues for communities. We know that these data centers are disproportionately affecting frontline communities, BIPOC communities, aging communities. So when we present something, instead of it just being a thumbs up, and I continue to give this feedback to our city as we have a new AI council, and we're really making sure we take away all of these things, including equity, including what these things can be used for. So I'd like to see that within your framework, especially if you all's work is going to continue to be supported by the city. I think that we want these things to be science-based, to be, not based on the very people who are going to create the rates for this and will get benefit from this as our utility companies. In addition, another thing that, once again, just feels very biased is talking about there was a lack of transparency on tax incentives with you all's website here. So it highlights tax revenue benefits, but you all ignored that many data centers receive significant tax breaks. So that can reduce that sort of actual public gain. So once again, a lot of things where it just feels like you all are excited and there is opportunity here, but it does not seem as though there was a balanced, measured approach to real significant drawbacks of this. So that's my feedback. If you've got any notes on that or how you all plan to be a little bit less biased in the future or more measured, that'd be great.
Yeah, no, thank you for that feedback. The one piece I will say on the tax benefit side is Microsoft is not intending to take any tax incentives. They've made that commitment. They're going to pay their own way. So I think we can see some significant community benefits on just that they're not going to take those incentives.
So like you said, maybe including that on
Yeah.
the website when it's fully fledged out would be awesome. So you
Yeah.
could see benefits like that.
Definitely.
Well,
yeah.
thank you so much, Andrea. I appreciate it. Those are my questions.
Thank you.
Well-
Other questions?
Yeah, if I can follow up on that a little bit. I mean, just to focus this in, we're the city of Grand Rapids. We're not, the United States. And if these things aren't going to be have any real likelihood of being located inside the city. It seems to me that the more germane question for us, I suppose, possible city residents could get jobs there. But I think the two most germane things that I think I'd like to keep bearing in mind and having communication on are, one is capacity issues, because whether they're located in the city or outside the city, if these centers draw enough power that they preclude other development, that can be problematic.
Sure.
And that's certainly happened nationally. And capacity and cost are maybe two sides of the same coin. So it's also true that nationally we've seen spikes in costs for consumers, and that's an ongoing conversation. It's an evolving conversation with these major players. I know they're starting to make commitments that essentially the cost of increasing the capacity isn't borne by the existing residential community. But I think that as representatives of the city, our principal obligation here in terms of our due diligence is to make sure that as we're in this conversation, we're making sure that pre-existing customers don't bear the burden of the expansion, but also that as we are trying to do, as we're trying to grow inside the city, that we don't get told no down the line because capacity has already been maxed out. And I know these are sort of growing pain discussions, and they can be solved, but I certainly think it's good to keep them in mind. I know I was up in touring our incipient sister suburb of Vaughan, and as I was taking the tour around Vaughan, Ontario, with some city staffers, they were pointing out development that was on the back burner because data centers had essentially earmarked all the near-term capacity. So I would urge you to be to model that out as clearly as we can, because my concern as mayor is that this not forestall development in the city because, there's a limited amount of power available. And even short-term bottlenecks could be very problematic because all projects are time-sensitive, and I don't want to miss opportunities in the city because capacity was taken up outside the city. And then the cost thing is relevant because at the end of the day, we represent residents, we don't represent businesses. So, those two things I'd like to at least make sure are forefront in our considerations. I mean, I think some of the other things, questions about, environmental impacts in Cascade Township isn't really directly in our purview, but I shouldn't have said Cascade Township. I have no idea where these things are planned to be, but outside of the city, impacts in those communities are for those communities to think about. But for us, I can see those two things being of concern.
Those two.
City Manager?
Yep. Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. Thank you to the Right Place team. We appreciate your help, and it's really encouraging to see your strategic outlook over the next 3 years. What I'm really excited about, in addition to the investment that's forecasted for the economy, the over $700 million, I believe, over the next 3 years in the region, is the recognition that in addition to prosperity and people, we need place and we need housing. And I think the Right Place has been very intentional in helping us address both the economic job investment, make sure that we're focused on economic job investment, but also coupling that with housing, because that's what employers are looking for. In addition to all the wonderful things about being the #1 city on the rise and having a good tech industry, manufacturing tech, med tech, as well as fintech with Acrisure anchored in our community. And so it's really encouraging to hear was there for the Economic Outlook report, and we appreciate that that benchmark every year to know that we continue to outpace many in the state and the region in terms of mid-sized cities. The growth is strong, and I'm encouraged to hear about the things that we can benefit from here in the city, and these concerns around data centers itself, the fact that they're looking for sites that's over 200 acres. It's a concern regionally, but specifically within our local jurisdiction, doesn't seem like that is going to be an imminent opportunity that we would have here to decide upon. But understandably, every city, every township will get to make their own choice on how they want the quality of life to be experienced in their local community. And I think we're going to evaluate that ourselves as part of our master plan implementation, as part of our zoning rewrite.
And, I guess, given the cautionary things I said, I don't want anybody to walk away from this discussion thinking that I think that development in these data centers is inherently a bad idea. It's really simply a question of balancing and planning appropriately, so that some of the bumps in the road we've seen in other communities, I think, are avoidable and can be avoided. But I just wanted to name them because I think it's important, as your voice is part of this regional development, that we have those concerns front and center. I will also say a couple other things, if I could, and Commissioner Kilgore, if you want to, I don't want to spend all of our time on data centers since we keep pointing out we're not getting any in the city. But if you want to wrap up that bit, I have a couple other things I wanted to talk about.
Sure, that was my point, though, is I think we have to. We're not on an island alone. Right? So our resources are really important, and especially if we support you all as an organization, you are a partner with the city, we have to make sure these are balanced things that you're claiming and putting out for community. So that is my concern. And if you all are familiar with the development in Lansing, it's right downtown. It's across from a Wendy's. So yes, usually they need a lot of space, but let's not act like there are outliers and that there could be folks who could potentially move into the city. Never say never. And if wherever it is, if they're using up all of our energy and lights go out, or we are displacing water, as we know these centers can do, we will have it in our backyard. So we as leaders, it's incumbent upon us to ask for more for folks who are putting out information and making websites and partnering with the city to be a little bit more balanced and a little bit more prepared as they present these things. So I appreciate it, but going to push back on that a little bit.
Well, but it's also certainly true that we don't want to abandon technology. That's probably not a good long-term strategy for the United States.
No one wanted to be against the car, but we put in seat belts, we put in airbags, so I hear you.
So if I could pivot to another couple things I wanted to, if we can just put a pin in that.
The data center discussion's usually I can do a 20-minute presentation
Yeah.
on that alone. So yeah, I'm happy to do that.
Let me just remind us, there is no planned proposal before us like the other townships. And so I actually appreciate the discussion that's happening, not when there's a zoning consideration. So this is probably the best time to have
And
it.
having suffered through a lot of really interesting conspiracy theories about renewable energy 15 years ago when the city was trying to do that, and mysterious theories on why windmills were bad. I don't want vague fears of technology to get in the way of progress. So. A couple other things that I wanted to at least flag for you, or ask. You guys are the experts. I'm not on talent attraction or retention, but I noticed you flagged, us as an outdoor venue, and that always, while it's good and all of our river stuff is good, it also makes me a little itchy because we're not a national park, right? We're a city, and when people are making decisions to move here, I totally get that outdoor amenities are part of the mix. But do you have any, when you're making a pitch to potential employers and potential people who might move here, I assume you do some research on what people are looking for. And I didn't see anything about, new urban transit models. So in other words, walkability, that kind of stuff, and highlighting. We're doing a lot of work and putting all that energy into that space too. And I'm not seeing that as something that made it into your deck. And I'm wondering if that's not something people value when they're looking to move, or if it is, or if you have any comparison between others. To put it crudely, we're not on an ocean. We're not even on Lake Michigan. We got a river. It's great. But on the other hand, when I look at cities I want to move to, I'm always looking at walkability scores and things like that. Anytime I go to a city, my question is, how do I experience this city? And a lot of that comes down to, is it walkable? Does it have vibrant neighborhoods that are walkable? And so that didn't make it into your deck, and I just don't know if you could speak to that a little bit. And then the other thing, if I can just leave you with two things. You noted the educational component, but I think that there's something we ought to always keep in mind when we think about our educational system, and that is we have to be able to show people that we have a viable K-12 system for the children of employees who may move here. So it's not simply a matter of getting people internships, but it's also a question of whether we can engage the business community in helping our K-12 system simply do better.
So the first part of that conversation was K through 12. I focused on the internship piece because that's the main thing that's happening right away. But we do focus, part of that 100 partnership is with K through 12, making sure with our ISD that employers are really engaging them. That's part of the proactive strategy of talent pipelining. And then also for talent attraction, we are customizing these conversations. So even though we're focusing on green space as part of this strategic plan, we are looking at what each different individual may want through our ambassador program, through our retention visits, and they're a little bit different. And you are right with walkability. We were just at DGRI this morning and really going through all of the services that they provide as well. So people are very concerned about that, especially they're concerned about transit. They're concerned about not just they don't want to have a car when you think of some of this younger talent that's coming here. So it is on our radar, but we are pretty much customizing people's needs based off of when they are interested in coming here.
And maybe that's just a Grand Rapids biased point, which is to say, if you're trying to get somebody to locate in West Michigan generally, and they like the Thornapple River, that's nice. But we do have, as you pointed out, a lot of sort of aging industrial facilities in town, and those are the advantage they have is they're lodged in a context, they're in neighborhoods, and that's a real advantage, it seems to me, potentially.
Yeah, if I could take a moment to add, that is a true advantage that we have industrial facilities that are located within walking distance. I know speaking to several business leaders in the region, it is important to them to be in those neighborhoods because that's where their people are and they want to stay there. I'll also add on the talent attraction piece, while I'm not working directly with all of the talent that's looking to locate here, I do talk with business leaders who are making those location decisions. And one of the trends that I see or common themes is Grand Rapids as a city is very attractive because it has a lot of great amenities that you often don't find in a mid-sized city of our size. So people can find a place downtown. They can go attend, world-class performances, sporting events. We have several new developments coming in. People find that very exciting to see that growth. And in addition, while we're not on the ocean, the Thornapple isn't going through here. We're not on Lake Michigan, but that is, we're not on an island. I think that was mentioned earlier. This is a complete package here in the region, and I find people who are quite impressed that we have this strong core, and then they can drive 15 minutes and be in some of the most beautiful natural spaces I think that rival anywhere in our country. So that is a selling point that we talk through quite a bit and that we show. We don't just talk it, we take them here and they see it.
Yep. Thank you, and thank you all for sharing. I think we better move on to our next, since we got a 2 o'clock committee of the whole, City Commission meeting. Next, we have a briefing from the Office of Equity Engagement about our MLBE program.
Mayor, just for a time check, I think I just got an estimate. The staff indicated we could probably get through the next two items in about 15 minutes.
Great.
Yeah. Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners, and City Manager. I have a good PowerPoint, but I'm going to condense it down for the sake of time. If you have not heard about Connect Local GR, we are hosting Connect Local GR April 2nd at the DeVos Place from 10 to 1:30. What this event, why this event matters is we're bringing not only our local public institution, but other public institutions such as the airport, Kent County, but also private institutions like Myers, Gentex, all into one room to help connect with small businesses in the area. So think of a Meet the Buyers event where buyers have tables that could engage with small businesses and help share procurement processes, how to get involved, potential forecasting for RFPs that are coming in the future. What we are trying to solve for is, from the business perspective, limited visibility into some of these procurement channels and processes. Then from the buyer perspective, help introduce them to more local suppliers who have the capacity and readiness to do business with them. Really trying to be proactive about procurement engagement with this event. What is Connect Local GR? As I shared, departments, other institutions will host tables. They'll educate, they'll connect, and they'll help strengthen their company's pipeline of local suppliers. Kind of redundant information. I'll just proceed a little bit more. Why participation matters? It just improves vendor readiness, staff time. It reduces staff time answering repetitive questions, whether that's via email or phone. So it really just allows staff to get in front of vendors and get to answer questions in a one-stop shop, which could hopefully lead to more opportunities for supplier engagement downstream. Sign right there. This is kind of for organizations. We just want to make sure the appropriate buyers are there that can answer the questions. One document that they will come with is just a forecast. It'd be very broad bucket based, but it might say construction, $100 million, landscaping, goods and services. We want them to come with a very high level forecast of what they procure, the buckets that they procure in, with the estimated dollar amount that they procure annually. One piece we're excited about, we will have a panel discussion there about creating opportunities for small businesses in procurement, as well as we'll be distributing 3 awards to our MLBE suppliers, with also one for more of a department institution who's been a strong supporter of the MLBE program to help recognize their effort with the program as well. It'll be a very energetic business environment. We'll have a DJ, we'll have food. It'll be a great time. Hope you all could make it out. What success looks like, not only is it the number of participating companies, so right now we have about 69 tables reserved. The reason I say tables is because we have a handful of city departments, but then it's also ESOs, entrepreneur support organizations like the Chambers, Start Garden, Spring GR, but also financial institutions such as Huntington, Northern Initiatives. And so when we think about this event holistically, we'll have buyers there, we'll have technical assistance providers from ESOs, but then we'll also have financial institutions that could help strengthen opportunities for small businesses in the area. And at this time, I'll take any questions. Just want to provide a very high-level overview of the event. Hope that you all could get out. Registration is live for small businesses to participate, and love to answer any questions that you all have about the event.
I'll just have a quick comment. You guys have been out there hustling to make sure people know about this event, because I done got the email like 300 times from you guys. And can you, again, the registration is for the businesses, and then the supporting organizations, like you'd mentioned, some of the, direct banks or CDFIs or other ESO partners, are they able to attend at no cost, or do they need to register?
So right now for participating partners, registration is closed.
Okay.
It is free of charge for them to participate. Right now, our big push is making sure that small businesses are there to take advantage of the opportunity. And before I close, I always want to acknowledge our partner, Mr. Ahmad Hardy, for all his outstanding work.
Thanks, Mr. Ahmad Hardy.
We also want to note that for next year, we're planning on doing this in conjunction with the Chambers and SBDC Small Business Week as
And
well.
grow.
And grow.
Mayor,
year was a little tough. for
No,
venue
thank,
capacity.
I just appreciate, I was going to say, I know you all were part of those conversations, so I know you were really, so I'm going to say this is the pre to the pre. Do you know how many small businesses have signed up so far, Mr. Hills?
As last time I looked about 20 minutes ago, it was around 80.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you all for your work.
And I will just add, we have a ton of mass media marketing coming out, whether it's news, publications, radio. So we're excited to get that number up.
City Manager?
Yep, Mayor, thank you again for your work, AJ and Ahmad. In terms of the event time, 10:30 to
1:30.
10 to 1:30, 10 to 1:30. So how much time should someone plan minimally to be there?
Perfect question, City Manager. From 10 to about 11:45, that will be the meet the buyer portion, where you could circulate, meet the buyers, have as much conversation you like, or kind of hit the targets and get out. At about 12 o'clock, we'll transition to the stage, where we'll have the panel discussion, followed by the awards portion for our microlocal program. So it just depends on when you're coming, but if you're looking to get engaged with businesses, between 10 to 12 will be that prime time. If you're coming to support the panel discussion, learn more about some exciting things happen from some of our panelists, that piece will take part about 12 o'clock.
Thank you both.
So thank you.
And that brings us to update from Mr. App, I believe.
About some of the services and work that we have done with Mr. App, but just a brief update to this group. We're kind of changing the way we are approaching retail support, so just wanted to give this group a heads up. As you know, since the pandemic, we've been doing sort of a shared resource memorandum of understanding with DGRI, the Grand Rapids Chamber in the city, focused on the retail sector. At this point, the city will continue to have support probably through a professional services agreement or discrete projects that we issue RFPs for to support the retail sector, as our two partners think about different ways they can continue to support that sector. So Jenny Waugh from the Chamber is here, and they have some folks focused on small business and small business retail. DGRI is also undertaking an update of GR Forward and does expect to do some focused work on retail in the downtown. So both of those efforts I expect to continue to inform how the city participates and our Economic Development Department participates in retail sector support. It is obviously a challenging part of the economy. It is constantly changing and trying to figure out the right tools and incentives and ways to support the existing small businesses and continue to attract small businesses is an area the city will continue to commit to invest, and we anticipate continuing on some of the things that Mr. App has been foundational to, including the work ongoing around our own construction projects and how they interact with commercial corridors, both in the design and in the construction of those projects. So again, we expect to be continuing to work with Mr. App or others that respond to those RFPs, but wanted you to know that that's going to look slightly different.
Thanks. Yeah, do you want to add anything, Mr. App? And then Commissioner Eustachy had a question.
One of the things that I would love to say
Turn your mic on.
is, one of the things that we hear from people outside, I could almost mirror what the Right Place said on things. Grand Rapids is a great city to get to, yes. And we're hearing that from businesses. I just got a text message from a national retailer that came last night that told me how great a restaurant was on Bridge Street, how great a place was in Easttown, and they're bringing their design team here to research what's going on in Grand Rapids. As you may or may not know, on some of the successes we've brought in bringing businesses to Grand Rapids, in February of '24, we brought Chanel, which was our first national retailer downtown. Since then, we've added 4 more Detroit-based businesses to Grand Rapids, businesses from Chicago, from Indianapolis, from Denver. In the last 2 weeks, we've had businesses from Portland, Seattle, and another business from Detroit last night. What we're hearing people say is, I guess sometimes we don't see what we have right in front of us. I don't consider Grand Rapids a not walkable town. I walk here. I see you walking. I saw you walking with your umbrella just the other day. We live in the same neighborhood, so it's easier to do that. But one of the things that we're trying to figure out and what we're straightening the road on is how do we get money out into the places? I mean, the best money that we can spend, or the best money we have, is the money we don't spend. In the Southtown CIA, we have a ton of money in the bank, but we haven't been able to get it out. We're getting it out now because we have worked with a couple financial institutions that are doing essentially a bridge loan on that 100% reimbursement, so that the people don't have to spend the money and then get it back out. They're going to put an application fee, a little bit of interest on it, and at the end of the day, the reimbursement happens and everybody works. We have 11 of those projects that are approved in the Seymour Square and Eastern and Oakdale neighborhoods. Those are going to change those neighborhoods. We're talking about 11 parcels in those spots. That's how real work happens. And so it's exciting to see that going on. And I mean, I'm happy with where we're going. I also think that as we're developing our assets, mainly, let's say, the river and the parks, what are the businesses that we need to put into those spaces? I mean, I'm in conversations with outfitters. I'm in conversation with bike shops. What's crazy to think about is I'm in conversations with disc golf places. What we don't realize about Grand Rapids is we have the number 1 and 3 disc golf courses in the state in Garfield Park and in Riverside Park. But if you can't buy a disc there, are we doing something wrong? To your point at a conversation we had earlier this year, Mayor, are we going to have lockers for kayaks? Are we going to be able to sell and rent kayaks in these spaces? Are we going to be able to have outfitters in these spaces that are going to be part of our growing economy? I mean, we are growing the fastest between the ages of 18 and 36, and we want to give people what they want. I mean, a couple of years ago, right before our project, about a year and a half ago, we put QR codes on building and literally said, "What do you want here?" And it was funny because we're now in another election cycle, but at that time, we always hear elected officials say, the American people want this, the American people want that. Well, they didn't ask me. They probably didn't ask any of you, and they probably didn't ask anybody in the crowd. So I think that the biggest thing we can do is just be very intentional about what we're doing. Just in our downtown corridor on Monroe Center, we have 3 new businesses opening in May. That's going to fill up that whole corridor for the first time. So am I excited about what's going on next? Yes. Does that mean that I'm sunsetting from my work with DGRI in the chamber? Not necessarily, because they're allies for us, just like the Right Place is. And so I say that, we're going to keep moving forward, and I'm excited about where the city's going.
Thanks. Commissioner Sassi.
Thank you. I read these memos and sometimes I'm like, what are we saying? So sorry, Ms. Behrens, I'm like, I'm gonna be a little bit more explicit, okay? I'm gonna be, and Mr. App just gave some of that explicit. So it sounds like our partners have decided that they've got different strategies, which is we know happens, right? This was post-COVID or during COVID, I was here. And so I just want to kind of state that publicly and kind of acknowledge, I want to explicitly acknowledge that, thank them for that partnership. And just kind of, we heard that presentation from the Right Place. There are things that we do internally, different departments, different initiatives, and then there's things that we connect. I know for me, Rich, there's been a lot of times where I've called you just kind of randomly about a business or like, hey, have you heard this? Or you'll call, refer them to something. And so, and I think, I'm open to seeing what that looks like in the future here with the city. The reality is, connecting, I talked earlier, utilities, landlords, marketing, corridor improvement authorities, planning, the development center, economic development, city clerk's office. There's a lot of things as it's a small business is trying to manage and to have. I know we have Mr. Singleton as the ombudsperson, but it's kind of trying to figure out what's the internal work of making sure people know what's happening there, and then what is the external and how do we attract. Especially, I know we're kind of here in this precipice of these large investments, and I think we're hopefully trying to get our smaller businesses to be able to capture what's happening in these developments. You know, I'd love to see it not just for the downtown area, I'd love to see it in our business corridors. So maybe this presents an opportunity of kind of the message that I think we've heard from the dais is, yep, we certainly want to see this across all wards in terms of retail attraction. I think there's lots of exciting opportunities, you know, to connect that. So I would be interested in supporting and talking about what that looks like. So I guess I'll just, like I said, I read this memo the other day. I was like, I don't know. I'm going to just want to make sure that everybody's understanding
Mayor.
and clear.
And
Let me
Thank you.
just be very clear.
Yes.
The agreement expires June 30th.
Yes, yep.
The city does not have the support of the other partners in continuing that three-way relationship. This takes away a tool that we currently have. They may replace it with another, but we will need to think about that very deliberately as we move forward in the budget process, how we can more intentionally support our business corridors. And there are some CIAs that can be more independent, and there are others that may need more support, as we've talked about. So that will be something we'll have to discuss.
Yep. Thank you.
just to augment that, I do want to acknowledge that Kenneth Cortez is in the audience, who has recently joined the Southtown CIA as their activations manager. So again, that sort of knitting and amplifying the investments that various partners are making in this sector, retail in particular. So the chamber has some tools. DGRI, as I said, is doing that update. So while they're not sharing in this particular position, the city continues to have funds to support the retail sector and commitment from partners to work with us on what are the best ways to do that. And certainly we can't replace a lot of the relationships that are built when people just go out into the community, as Mr. App has done so effectively. And so we will look for ways to craft those services for the city that allow us to continue on those pieces that have worked the best for us and allow us to adapt into the future.
Great. Thanks.
Just to add to what you're saying
3
there,
minutes starts
Commissioner.
now.
As he's a closing preacher here.
Give me two. Is I think what we need to do is we really need to focus on activations in neighborhoods, and I'm 100% agreeing with that. We're seeing that in Creston right now. We're seeing that in West Leonard right now. We're seeing that in Alger Heights. We're seeing these in other neighborhoods. I think the CIA money that we have out there is a great opportunity to use those marketing dollars effectively, because what we need to know is that the more people we have on the street, the better off we have a chance to sell. And that's just the bottom line.
Thanks. Thanks. Okay, that moves us on to, is that the end of our agenda?
At the Development Center,
Mr. Overman
Development
has
Center. Yep.
one item.
the long-awaited report.
Next time, we'll make sure he goes first next time, Mayor.
We keep promising that, yeah.
Thank you, and I'll be brief. The report has been submitted for the month of February, and we had a major migration of our software over the turn of the month, and that went very well. So I'm here to answer any questions you may have on the report today.
That was quick.
Yeah.
Any questions, colleagues? Otherwise?
Well, see,
Go ahead.
it's unfair to him to do this because they do such good work at the Development Center, and I would ask that we do put it at the beginning of the agenda next time. But is there anything you'd like to highlight on progress we made on permitting, or plans examination, inspections?
So we've made great progress in reducing our inspection delays. That's been our major focus. We're still working on it in our mechanical inspection sides. That's the area that we're still seeing the greatest impact, but it's due to a lot of work that's being done with the state to open up who can become eligible to be an inspector. There's a very narrow path right now, and we've got like our building official and deputy building official working diligently with the state to try to change some of those rules so we can open up that candidate pool a bit wider.
Not that I want to pour on for Commissioner Kilgore, but one of the things, two things I want to say. I had a chance to go to a tech conference this past week, and one, a good lead on a med tech company who is interested in coming to Grand Rapids. Secondly, there was lots of discussion on the use of AI in plans examination. And several communities had expedited their review process by weeks by utilization of technology. And so one of the things that I hope we can have as a city and this AI council, instead of just everything AI all the time, like where are the places and services where we can benefit the most, like plans examination or FOIA requests, or what's another one, 311. Now, those that are really outward facing where the citizens will get a good benefit and improved quality of life and response time. And so I'm hoping those type of deliberate conversations will somewhat in the future benefit our own permitting process, and we'll be able to take advantage of it in a responsible way, of course.
Definitely looking into some of those options as well. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, we are adjourned.